With all of this ice comes uncertainty and fear of driving conditions, walking conditions, our personal safety, right? And so we want to be as safe as possible, but we also want to be mindful about the steps that we're taking to be safe when it comes to snow and ice in the winter. So here at the Coon Creek Watershed District, we work both at the state level, the county level, and the local municipal level to help fight chloride. We have 68 water bodies across the state impaired for chloride. We here in the Coon Creek Watershed District have 3 water bodies impaired for chloride, including Laddie Lake in Blaine and Spring Lake Park, Springbrook Creek in the city of Fridley, and we have Pleasure Creek in the city of Coon Rapids. And what that means is that those chloride levels are reaching a point where it can no longer sustain aquatic life. So that means that those waterways are getting so salty that fish and invertebrates can't survive, which can have a really big impact on the overall ecosystem that we have here in the state of Minnesota. We like to talk about what's being called smart salting. Smart salting is about being mindful about how we're using the salt, where we're using it, when we're using it, and how much we're using, so that, one, we're using just the right amount of salt so that we're not putting excess out into the environment, but also so that we're not putting more salt down than we need to, which saves us money because your salt will last you longer. So a lot of common smart salting practices will be things like shoveling first. So if you shovel a walkway before you put down salt, what you're effectively doing is eliminating all of the material that would eventually become ice. So you're removing the ice before it forms, which is why we always encourage people to shovel first and shovel frequently. Then you'll have to put less salt down. The other thing that we encourage people to do is look at the landscape around your home or business and prioritize the areas that you want to stay on top of during the winter. Another super helpful smart salting tip is to be mindful about what the temperature is when you want to use salt. So something that a lot of people don't realize is that your traditional rolled salt that you would put down on your sidewalk actually has an effective temperature where it stops working. So if we have a ton of ice, but the temperature is below 15 degrees, putting down salt isn't going to help that ice. The salt is no longer effective when it's 15 degrees or colder. So when it gets to that point, try putting something else down to help create the traction. And one of those things would be grit, or some people have heard of it called chicken grit, right? It's crushed up granite that you can put down on your sidewalk to create traction to keep you from slipping. And it can also be reused. So unlike salt, when it's successfully used, it absorbs and melts away. Grit, you can actually sweep back up and reuse it the next time you get ice in that same area. But there's also a variety of other methods. One of them, which you maybe see on a more industrial scale, a lot of cities or counties are starting to use a brine solution, which is like a watered down salt solution. They'll be using beet juice, and Anoka County is actually one of the leaders in the area of trying to encourage some alternative methods. Another alternative that you could use at home is actually putting down a physical barrier. The Get Gritty program is a partnership between multiple metro watershed districts to help encourage people to take that first step and try a different method of ice mitigation, right? And so the purpose of this program was to remove a barrier for people who maybe want to try grit or want to try a new method, but aren't sure how to do so, where to get the product, what to do with it, to take that first step. All these different salt awareness programs like Smart Salting and the Get Gritty program, they're not trying to convince you to get rid of salt completely. What we're trying to encourage people to do is be more mindful about how much salt that we use, and then be more creative or willing to try other approaches that you maybe haven't tried before. And maybe they'll work for you, maybe they won't. The important part is that you gave it a try, and any change that we can make to the amount of salt that we're using will benefit our waterways.